Good morning, everybody. It is 8:19 a.m. It is August 3rd. We finally had some selling in the market. The Fitch downgrade mattered, and we gapped down and kept moving lower. Basically, had an open test drive in the ES, and we had an open drive lower in the Nasdaq. So just sold off and held the lows. Went farther down in the overnight too. So have to see what this means, right? Um, we have Apple and Amazon earnings, Coin and Block, right? Reporting today. So it's heavy on crypto. And then Amazon, e-commerce, and Apple, the tech giant, right? So without further ado, welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. We use volume profile, market profile to look at the structure of the market, keep us on the right side of the trade. We also use supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, of course, moving averages, and the rolling most traded price of the month and the rolling most traded price of the week. All these levels help us to determine where the market could be going, and specifically could be, right? I work based off scenarios, if then scenarios, right? If this happens, then this should happen, right? I'm not in predicting. I want the market to help me make a plan. So that's basically it. So welcome to my channel. Subscribe if you haven't already. Set an alert. Be much appreciated. You can always send me a like, a thumbs up. Of course, you can wait to the end if you want. You can do it anytime you want, really. Follow me on Twitter at Gonzo719. Right. So let's get into the futures watch list here. Not sure who's with me today. We're hitting the demand level right now in Nasdaq that we already broke, but I kept it on my chart, so we must be getting a little weak again. Q's down pretty almost a half. Let's go into the Babylon here. Let's go into the watch list. How don't we just do that, right? All right, so we got an elevated VIX. There's some fear in the market finally. We broke 15, broke 16, holding over 16. We're up 4.79%. The 10-year yield is up to 4.14. Big move in 10-year yield. So now this is really who's gonna win here. Bonds yields rising and the market's falling. That's what's supposed to happen. That's not what's been happening. So can the 10-year yield spike even higher? The dollar is up 0.11, not that much, pretty much flat. Crude is flat. Bitcoin is flat. The Dow down 0.22, the Russell's down 0.28, ES down 0.36. Ether is down 0.38, gold 0.42, Nasdaq is down 0.55, bonds being sold down 1%, 30-year bonds being sold. Silver is down 1.27%. Okay, moving on to the top sector stocks. I'm sorry, the stocks I like to day trade. Okay, let's look at the leaders here. So we got Baba. Baba is talking about AI. Now, originally, I'm pretty sure I heard that they were going to use Meta's AI model, that Llama or Lana, but now they're doing their own, I believe. So that's given a pump to Baba this morning. Remember, Baba's China, so Fitch downgrade made it go down a little bit, but that shouldn't really affect Baba. So Amazon, it's up 0.12. Got earnings today. Then we just got laggards, right? So we're gonna round out. So we got Google broke 129. Important level in Google. It's holding below that. It's down 0.85. Meta is down 0.86. Nvidia is down 1.19%. So large negative gamma level 445. Below it, we're in big negative gamma. So last week's, I believe, where do we not have to see that? Either that's last week's highs or low. I think it's last week's highs, I believe. It could be wrong. 440. We'll look at that possibly later. Coin. Coin's down another 1.36%. It's down to 89. Okay, that reports today. So we're getting weakness in the markets. Sellers finally had some follow through, meaning we gapped and then we went lower and held it. That's big difference than what's been happening uh, before, right? All right. Um, let's look at some top sector stocks now. Okay. Do we have a leader? Well, not really, but Walmart. Obviously, that's defensive. That's consumer staples. Johnson and Johnson, healthcare. I mean, it's only up 0.05, but you can understand that the safety stocks are not going to go down as much, right? Healthcare, Procter and Gamble, United Healthcare. Okay, so who's our laggards? Well, there's a big one there. You got Visa, Salesforce, and the big loser, Qualcomm, down massively, almost $13. It's almost down 10%. It's down 9.57%. They just had very, believe it was future forecast. We'll get into the news, but it just not good from Qualcomm. A lot of people are down from earnings yesterday. Shopify, Occidental Petroleum, PayPal, all down. So really bad. Like the earnings were like they were beats, but we'll get into it. We'll get into it. All right. Sectors. Wouldn't call that a leader, but wouldn't call it a loser. It's all defensive. Healthcare, materials, staples, utilities, all defensive, right? And then we go to the weaker ones, right? Real estate's the only one. Well, mortgage rates just went up more, so. But technology down 0.71, and semis are the weakest, right? AMD, after pushing all the way up to 120 something, shot all the way down. Right now it's at 108. 108 is a key support level in AMD. Okay, all right. So we can get into some news here. Let's do it. Some of these earnings, right? Qualcomm fell 9% after the chipmaker reported underwhelming guidance for the current quarter after delivering mixed third quarter results, as the revenue fell short of estimates amid a softer smartphone demand. But DoorDash is up, Moderna stocks up, Hasbro stock rose, PayPal stock fell 8% after digital payments firm reported weak margins. Okay, Warner Brothers stock rose 2.6 after entertainment giant posted higher than expected core profit in the second quarter as the subscriber growth at its HBO Max streaming service boosted advertising revenues. ConocoPhillips stock fell 1.8 after the U.S. shale producer reported a fall in the second quarter profit on Thursday as energy prices dropped from last year's peaks. Regeneron stock rose 4.8% after pharmaceutical beat a quarterly profit estimate. Roku stock fell 2% after the Citigroup downgraded its stance on the video streaming company to neutral from buy, right? So we got some downgrades today. Roku is one of them. Etsy is one of them. Southwest Airlines is one of them, and Qualcomm is a downgrade. Okay. And oil had a little bit of a pullback too. So that could be possible buying opportunity. I'm just waiting for some kind of pullback, but I don't like where it's at right now. Um, let's look at the economic calendar. Today we have initial jobless claims coming out in about 40 seconds. Okay. Then watch your day trades. If you put one, don't put a day trade on at 9:55 or 9:57. Okay. 10 a.m. you have ISM services, PMI factory orders, and ISM services. But you just have three things coming out. It's going to cause a little volatility. I would stay away from any entries of day trades prior to that number. Okay. So jobless claims is about to come out in about 15 seconds. So let's just see what that number is. Should drop right now. There we go. I don't know why that's not populating yet, but it should. There we go. Well, right in line. Jeez. Consensus was 227, actual 227. Right in line. Okay. One quick thing we can just look at. Let's look at the now. Let's look at the probabilities for the next FOMC. Just curious. So right now it's an 82.5%. 82.5% chance of a pause, 17.5% of a quarter point basis right hike right now. Okay, this has went down a little bit. So that's what's going on with the Fed fund futures. Now, the break-even inflation rate here. Let's see if I can bring this into scale here. If I can't, the 5-year break-even inflation rate. Let me see why this is not showing me what I want to show you guys. Well, you know what? I'm not gonna go crazy over it. It's basically making some higher lows. Okay, which I probably think is because of oil. So we don't have to concentrate on that. I don't know why that's not giving me the correct, um, but that's okay. That's just the Fed's balance sheet. All right, let's go move on. Okay, get out of there. We'll go right into the daily charts. Actually, before we do that, let's look at earnings, right? So today, um, we have some of these reporting, right? Already reported. After the close today, big boy, Amazon, Apple, Coinbase, Block, Airbnb, DraftKings, 40net. That's a pretty big earnings from those after the close. Okay. Now, let's get into the daily chart. What did we do? SPY. Look at all these little baby candles. Big bearish candle. Moved up. Right? And then we got a gap. And we went, where did we close? Right almost at the 20-day simple moving average. Right? 450.44 is a simple moving average. Now, closed at 450.13. Now, Jesus. Where are we now? Right? 448.50. We are down here. We're gapping down again. Okay. So, gapping down again. Let's look at the weeklies. Here's the weeklies, right? So now look at that. We took out last week's lows. Now we're gonna almost go to we're right at we're below, actually. Let's see the low of this, 449.08. So 449.08, we are below the previous week's lows right now. So that could be coming into play, right? And you'll see that in the profile. Here's the month. We're inside month now. There is July. August is typically seasonally a little bit of a weaker month, so that's coming into play. I'm not saying seasonality is coming into play, but that's coming. That's doing what it's supposed to be doing usually, August. Okay, so here is the profile, right? And you know these orange lines on my chart are weeklies. Okay, so this when it's in the current week, it shows me the previous week's lows. Okay, so we're below last week's lows. Now what did I say? The previous week's lows are right here. Previous week's lows are right here. Now let's look at where we're at now. Here's the previous week's lows right here. We are below them. Okay. Now, this is beautiful on this. See the orange in my charts? That's each week. So I can just look at each week, right? I can also look at months. That's the whites. Okay, so that's pretty cool that I can just look at the month. That's the previous month. This is the previous month. From that, this is June. So this is June's highs right here. This 444. Okay, so this is really a test for the market. So let's zoom in a little bit from the SPY, and this is really a test here. Let's see if we get that into play here. So like I said, here's last week's lows. Price is right at there. Okay, then we got June's highs, 444. That's gonna be a support level for the market, but the market has to find acceptance under the previous week's lows. Okay, now if it finds over last week's lows, if you start creeping above and you make a move above 452, well, sellers are going to be on their heels. Okay, so let's go back. Let's go into the Nasdaq now. Okay, what did Nasdaq do? Nasdaq, look, pushed down, pushed up to 384, gapped down. Look at that. Just a straight open drive down. Went all the way down here. Closed way past the 20-day simple moving average. Okay. You can see the 50s down here. Where are we now? 373. 373. So we're right at yesterday's lows. Right now we're at yesterday's lows. Pretty bearish. Okay. You have 372 coming up. Big level, 372. Here's their weeklies. Okay. So we took out last week's lows and closed out last week's lows, right? Also took out the previous week's lows. Now be cognizant of this too, the 10-week EMA, 366. Here's month. Inside last month. Here's the profile. Right? So you can see, remember I said the whites are the months. This is previous month, so this is July. So just look at the candles, right? We're inside last month. Okay, this is the previous week. Highs and lows. Okay, previous week, highs and lows. We're below last week's low. Below the previous week's low. Okay, where are we at though? We're at the highs. There's months, remember? The whites. We are at the highs of June. This is a monthly high of June. That's where we're at right now. So 372 is a very key level. 372 is a very key level. If we take back 375, sellers are going to be on their heels. Okay, let's move on to the Dow. Now the Dow has been stronger, right? And it has large holdings in healthcare. It's a little more defensive. Okay, so you can see right here came down to this low of this candle, right? Now where's the Dow? 352.27, 352.27. Basically at the lows of yesterday. Pretty bearish, right? 20-day simple movement's way down here, right? So it's stronger. It only closed below the 8 EMA daily. Moving on to the weeks. Look at that. Pretty much a replica of last week so far. It didn't break last week's lows. So you can just see push up and it's holding. So the Dow's stronger, okay? Here's the month. We're holding the tops of the month though, right? Here's the profile. I talked about this yesterday. Okay? Here's last week's lows. That's resistance right here. I mean support. So let's zoom into that. Here's that support right here, right? Needs to be defended. It's being defended right now. So let's see this candle on that level. It's being defended right now. Very big bullish up imbalance to this profile. Has no excess at the top. Okay. Now look, this is last week's highs on last month's highs right up here. Now this needs to be defended. 352. If 352 is defended, sellers are on their heels. Okay. 352 goes below and holds it. Well, you might be going back to 346. So what I'm going to do is set an alert here for myself. This will be a trade alert. Doesn't mean I take a trade, just means I'm going to analyze it. Right here. Gotta look at that level in the Dow. 352. Big level. Holds it. Make a couple higher lows. You're going to have sellers on their heels, okay? Let's move on to the Russell. Okay. Now the Russell, what did we do? The Russell, not as bearish as the other indexes, okay? Not as bearish. You can see this level right here held to the tick. Look at that. 194.09 held to the tick. Got some buy in excess at the close. Okay, where is the Russell now? 194.80, 194.90. So 194.90 is right at almost the middle of the range, right? So it's stronger. It's stronger right now. It's only down 0.11 right now. Right, the close is here. It's pretty much stronger. Held this support. So held this support. People took profit at the bottom of the balance. Now can it traverse it and start moving higher? I'm not sure, right? So doesn't get affected by Apple and Amazon. Moving on to the weeklies. Okay, you got big time resistance here. But you can just see big move up, consolidating, possibly going to make that move. I know we just said weak news, but remember, this is not going to be affected by Amazon and Apple. Here's monthlies, right? Let's go to the profile now. Now, this is a huge level. Right here, 194.09. This is what I just showed you, right? Big level. It's being defended. Notice in the other indexes, besides the Dow, they've broken key supports. Well, the Russell hasn't. I mean, look at this support level right here. Now, what is it? It's holding last week's lows, right? Holding last week's lows. Last week lows here, down at 193. It's holding it. It's not even touched it yet. Right? Here's the previous week's lows. Right here. And it's just holding it. You see that move up and then the volume here? Most traded price is 195. If you cross 195 and hold it, we're going to go and make a move to the top of this range again. Very interested in. I have a play in it right now. It obviously is a little red. Have some time on it though. Okay, let's move on. Let's look at that triple headed monster, which is like the bond market is going nuts. It's going higher. I mean, look at this. You gotta look at this. We had a high here put in 11/3/2022. That's the last time the bond market was this high, 4.2, right? We're right here right now. This bond market's rocketing up. Bonds are being sold. So, can we go back here? See, bonds were bought at the end of the day yesterday. Now it's like kind of like a doji. Have to really see what's happening here. You can go into the weeklies. You can see this is the last time we were up there. So do we break that? I mean, do we actually go past these yields? I don't know, right? I really don't. Let's go to the VIX. So here's the VIX on a weekly, just to show you this. There's that 15, we broke it. 16, we broke it, and we're holding it. Next move is 18.26. That will fuel farther move down. Okay? Have to really see it though. All right, let's move on to market profile. Let's see what's going on in the market right now as we speak. All right. Let's look at what we always look at, right? So, big move from the most traded price of the week in the month, still up here. Okay? Made some nice little volume here. Getting some excess now down here. Okay? What you want to see the market do is bring at least the most traded price of the week down to here. If the bears are going to have some sustainability, you need that to rotate down here to be the most traded price of the week. Then if you hold that, it can fuel the move lower. Okay? Well, what happens if that doesn't happen? If this can't bring the volume down, you're going to go back up. Okay? You're going to go back up because right now value's up here, price is here. Price needs to bring value lower. If it can't bring value lower, price returns back to value. Okay, like a slingshot. Now we broke the 20-day simple moving average. Okay, that was key. So we got our big level still is 46.05. Okay, 46.05. That's the big level. We're way below it. Okay, here's the most traded price of yesterday. We're below it. Price is here. Small gap down. So this is pretty bearish. You can't deny that. Pretty bearish. We broke this big bracket low here. Okay, so let's get into inventory. Opened here. There's our long activity. There's our short activity. That's about a 75% net short. Okay, Now, we're almost at the mid part of this range of the overnight. Okay. So, not all, because you got some buying now at the lows. Now, overnight lows are usually not secure. Like usually the low that the market makes is usually not an overnight low. It will be in a real-time trading session. So this could be susceptible to be taken out. Okay. Now let's look at yesterday. Okay. Big gap. Here's the gap. We opened, tested up tiny bit, and then fell off. Okay. So we got yesterday's highs, yesterday's lows. Most trader price happened more towards the low, which is bearish. Okay. Now we have a little gap down right now. Okay, so here's the overnight high, here's the overnight low. Price is here. So where's the test for the market? Okay, I don't have an edge here. I'm not going to just short from here. That's not smart. Okay, so there's supply zone here. Okay, so let's just map out certain key areas, right? So we have a bottom of the bracket low. Bottom bracket, right? It's like right here. It lines up with the 20-day simple moving average. What does that also line up with? The 50% of yesterday's move. What does it also line up with? Pretty much a supply zone here. So this, if the market happens to go in this area, is the test. Does the market hit it and fall lower? Or does the market pop above it, hold it, and now we're going back? That's really what we're looking at. Okay, that's really what we're looking at. So that just comes right back into scenarios, okay? So let's go with a bearish scenario because you have to. Now, under all big levels, underneath big support level, right? Holding, we're gapping down, got a lot of volume built down here. Okay, so could we just do this again? Yes, and go right into this gap. There's a gap here. That is a possibility, right? Into a demand zone, to a naked VPOC right here. Possibility, right? Now, as far as looking for a bearish trade, you know, you'd want to see maybe a push down and then a recovery, and then this is the test, like I just talked about. Most trader prices here, right? Even if you get that, there's supply in the 20-day simple moving average and 50% retracement of yesterday. So if you see that and it starts to make some lower highs, we're probably going to revisit those overnight lows. Right? And if it gets really weak, we go down, we fill this gap, hit this demand. That's kind of what you're looking at today. Okay. Now, as far as getting some type of dip or something, now if that market does come down here, fill that gap, hits this demand zone and starts making lower highs, well, that could be, you could get some excursion off of that and maybe go back up into here, right? You'd have to have some balls to do that, but that could be a little bit of a buy point and profit taking, right? A little more conservative would be push down, push up into this supply, break the supply, go back over the 20-day simple moving average, hold it, and then you look to go to yesterday's highs and possibly into this supply, right? Up here, right back to the gap, the bottom of the gap. Okay, that's what I'm looking at. And that was your scenarios for the ES. Okay, now let's look at the Nasdaq. Okay, so let's look at the profile. So we did still, this resistance never got broken, right? So you got a distribution here, and then you got not a lot of volume because you got a gap there, you got singles there, and now we've built some volume here and some excess. Okay, not a great looking profile. Okay, now what else do we have? Big level, big level up here. So at the one, no, what is this here? Let's call it 158. So 15,800. We're below it, right? We broke this support here, right here. That's been broken, right? We're holding under it. Now the most traded price of the overnight is down here. That's where price is. We're gapping down. There's the lows, here's price. So we're gapping down in the Nasdaq. We did come, now I'll show you this, very important. This right here is a gap from the past. Okay, what did we do? Came into this demand zone overnight, hit the top of this gap, and then it was bought up. Okay, but now price is starting to come back down a little bit. So this is an area that the market bounced off of. Okay, same thing. Overnight lows are not secure usually. So we could possibly make a new low. Okay. Now, what I'm seeing here is, let's get into yesterday. And so we got the gap formed here. We opened and we just drove lower, right? So here's the highs. I made some single prints here. Went all the way down to the lows. So let's clean that up. Yesterday's highs, yesterday's lows, overnight high, overnight low. Okay, so price is, let's see here. So we have open here in the overnight. There's the long activity, there's the short activity. Now, this is kind of given a little bit of an opportunity for a fade. We're kind of at the lows. All right, you got pretty much almost 85% net short in NASDAQ. We're in a demand. Yes, it did get broken, right? But you got some buying here, and you touch the top of this old gap. Okay. So that's okay. So this is a little more like, okay, if sellers can't get lower and fill this gap, possibly a fade, right? A little different, right? Now, what else do we have here? There's a nuance here, right here. Right there. That's a weak high. Okay. Why is that a weak high? Well, you have most traded price of yesterday is right here. You have the overnight high. Sellers are right there. Okay. If you break this and hold it, you can take these singles out and start making your way back up. Okay. If it gets defended, it could. We could roll over, but just pointing that out. Okay. So you have that. Now here's the midpoint, 15541. That's the 50% retracement of the big day to yesterday. Big day down. So that's important. What does that line up with? The bottom of this bracket. Okay. So let's get into scenarios. Right. So we're down here. Obviously, the market could come down, fill this gap, right? And then hold down here and possibly go down to, what's this? The 50-day simple moving average. on the daily. That's the 50-day. Okay, you could just do that, gap and go. Now, if this is a little hard one because this is the gap fill, so you could come up to the gap fill, also do this. You could also come up into the supply, right? Full rollover. You can come up to this weak high, punch up a little bit, come through it, and then that also could roll over. And why? Because this area is also the lows of that balance area. Okay. Now, if you're going to be bullish, there's a couple things that could happen. Okay. Couple scenarios. You could actually push down, fill the gap, hold in this demand, start making some higher lows, and then you get the sellers on their heels, and then you might start thinking about, taking some off here, here, and I don't know if you do this, but that's possible. Okay, that's possible. You could also do that, and what's going to happen is you could come up here into the supply, probably give some problems here, push up, but hold this level, hold it, and then you go through single prints, and you can go test up. Okay, same thing as I talked about in the ES. The most traded price of the week's up here. That needs to move lower. If it can't, it's going to go back. I really think if you hit this 50-day simple moving average, if you hit that, people are most likely going to buy that dip at the 50-day simple moving average. That's a pullback. If you think this market's a new bull market, I would think that if you hit that and you hold it, that's the next long too. Okay, but all yet to be seen. Okay, so that was the NASDAQ. All right, that will be it for me, folks. If anybody's there, I hope you enjoyed the analysis. Please subscribe, set an alert. That'd be awesome. As always, give me a thumbs up if you like what you saw. You can always follow me on Twitter at Gonzo719. And that's gonna be it. That's gonna be it. We got a plan. Okay, we got our plans. So does this turn into a seller's market? Don't know. Big earnings after the close, right? Have to really see. We gapped. Now check this out. Gap, NASDAQ gap down. Open drive lower, held the lows. Gapping down, we're holding the lows of the overnight. Okay. Now usually, if you gap and you go lower again, people most likely are going to take profits. The odds are in your favor. You're going to get some type of correction, some type of pullback. Because two gaps in a row and you go down, usually what happens is you get some corrective. It doesn't make it a bull market. It just makes it, you get some corrective. People take profits. Okay. So that's it for me. Just keep that in mind, what I just said. That's not trading advice. It's just usually what I've seen happens. Two gaps in a row and go lower, usually it's followed by a correction. Okay. That's it for me. I will speak to you guys tomorrow. We got Apple earnings and Amazon, Block, and Coinbase. Okay. If I don't speak to you again, see everyone tomorrow.